Alright, welcome back to Let's Play Crusader Kings 2. Now this is going to be a post-commentary, so just keep that in mind when you see this. I actually have an interruption in the middle of it because I was trying to fix it, but it didn't work. I figured out what it was really stupid. Anyway, we're setting up our guys over here to fight the Mongols. We're going to leave them over there, and we'll just see how that happens. Now, basically the strategy is the same as last time. We want to keep all of our dudes over here and pull up all of our guys in the area to basically fight the Mongols before they show up. For the most part, I don't think we have the leaders to really do it, but we're going to try. I'm going to try our damnedest. We're definitely worried about having our vassals have a high enough opinion to actually do things. So, that's definitely a concern. And because of the change in Marshall, we have less troops than we did before, which you will get to see later. Now, they are probably going to show up in the same place they've been showing up, which is in Khiva. But I think they can show up in Persia. I'm not really sure. Our succession is pretty secure right now. We're raising our half-brother Maziar in Marshall. So we're going to have a better, succession because of it being our son and us being more popular. It's because we have a better diplomacy stat, really. That's really the big thing. We're kind of waiting for military organization. We're pretty close. We're going to get some points either way. And that'll give us some more retinue guys. We're above our cap now, and I think if we raise it, we can actually build more. Maybe not a whole lot more. Here I'm thinking about what I want to do. I end up settling on wanting improved keeps, because we're pretty close to the point numbers there. Because that'll give us some much better buildings than the rest of them. I don't know what the spinning gear does. I think it means that it's actually gaining points because of neighbors and such like that. My popular customs are intolerance are quite low, I've noticed, in my shipbuilding. Tech is not really a concern at this point. Our timing is kind of screwed up as far as where we're going to be, because I think we're synced up with some of the crusades. But the Mongols can show up at any time, so it's not like they have a thing, but we're coming up on another one, and yeah, that does happen. The crusades will not stop. Here I'm just kind of thinking about the supply limit in the area and how low it is. And I probably should have kept some of these provinces over here. In hindsight, it would have been good to keep things like Merv and stuff like that to really secure that. I hate Moldau. Frickin' Moldau. And I was thinking about inviting Georgia back. Right now they're being invaded by one of my courtiers, which is fine. But I don't end up doing that because there's a lot of wars going on, and I never really get a chance to. They do help me in the crusade, though, so that's good, as I expected them to. Really, though, we're in a good spot as far as what our neighbors are. There's not really any problems with Perm. I'm thinking about marrying off someone to him. He's looking at him now. He's injured and stressed and all that stuff. But we set up a betrothal here, and I'm kind of thinking Golbahar there is a good match because of age. But I was thinking that he might be betrothed to her, but that's not the case. Mizar there is not... Maziar there is not betrothed to her, so I'll go ahead and make the deal. And, you know, it's... I noticed that she's Akhenazi. I didn't realize that. She's one of the Jewish cultures. So we restart the game. I put it up to 4 speed, which is kind of... I don't turn it down until after the interruption. So... And here's the guys in Moldau trying to get me into their war, and I say no, because I always do that now. They just won't go away. The borders with Cumania, Actobi, and Perm are kind of in flux. It looks like Perm has gained some more land down towards us, if you notice. And Cumania, I thought, would be pretty dominant over Actobi, but that's not the case. Actobi's been pretty much the big thing. Here I get a couple of courtiers wondering about my bravery, so they're in a big war. Mizar gets gregarious from an event. That's really good. Now here's the point where I wanted to maybe cut this up, but really I didn't have the opportunity to, because I was so afraid of it. Here I'm checking the immortals, and what I'm trying to see is if you give money to the immortals, if they get any more dudes. He doesn't get the charitable trait from that, and they don't. These events pop up all the time. It seems like everybody in the Zoroastrian Empire is just trying to kill each other all the time. I know. Here I inherit another barony, which I don't want to do anything with. If it was in Tigris, I would. I keep these troops, but I don't know what happens to them later, because they're around, and I just kind of lose track of them. They probably die in one of the wars. Think about disbanding them, but there's no reason to, since I'm over my limit. They're just free troops at this point. I mean, I do have to pay maintenance for them. Hand out the barony. No reason not to do that. Here we're looking at one of our Shahs, and we decide that nothing's really going on, so we're going to let him off the hook here. We get a few of those events popping up, like again, right now. Here we're comparing the fact that we're doing so well in the factions because we have a 10 diplomacy, and that guy had a 0 in life for most of his life. I think he ended up getting positive at the end, but for getting rid of Shy and getting gregarious and things like that. But you know, that's fine. I really want Italy to become a merchant republic, but they could be a noble republic. It'll be fine. Or whatever they end up being in EU4. And we're getting some relations improvements with some of our Shahs. I think that's Kiva that we're talking to right now. Alright. So, here I'm thinking about mercenaries, and looking at my army levies, I can see that, number one, my domain isn't full, and number two, I have quite a bit fewer troops than I did the last time the Mongols showed up. And I'm hoping at that point that we can actually do stuff. And there we lose our favorite Achman. Our favorite Jewish guy. And I noticed at that moment that she's got the Akhenazi religion, or not religion, culture. And I try to teach that out of her, but I don't know if that's going to work. It doesn't really matter, because I'm sending her to somebody who's a different culture anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. If I had noticed that earlier, I probably would have kept it, but at that moment I'm like, oh crap, she's got the wrong culture. But then I didn't remember that she was going to go somewhere else. So you can see there Georgia's losing their war, just as I expected. The, you know, blood of Vondad is strong. Kiev over here I thought was being invaded by Moldau, but it's nothing. I would not have wanted that to happen. Here I go for humble because proud is humble is a bonus to diplomacy, so we really need that now. It's become probably our second most important stat after martial. Actually, martial's quite a bit better than stewardship now because of the need for and here we get Yazdgird, gregarious, because of the need for more troops. Before it was like you wanted diplomacy, or not diplomacy, but stewardship to have more provinces to get more troops, but now it's more you need to maximize the amount of troops you're getting from their provinces. Here Kiva gets mad because of something. I'm just thinking about... Oh. One of my concubines died here. So we invite a couple of ladies here to, you know, come check out the Shah and Shah and see if they want to hang out with him. Notice I have a prisoner here. He is a heretic that I make convert. He used to be my church leader. So we take a look at our new additions. Find a fairly good one with lustful and gray eminence. So we take that one. And yep, he agrees to convert, which is nice. I'm checking out up there to see if the situation has changed in Finland, but it hasn't. Humanity stabilizes a bit. I can't work out what that war is, but it ends as soon as I look at it, so I don't know. You're gonna think about re-inviting him to the Empire, but he's at war, so can't do that. It looks like Taraka has regained one of the Zoroastrian provinces it had before. I'm not too worried about that. I don't know what I was doing there. Oh, I was looking at my vassals' opinions here, thinking about my succession and things like that, because I'm concerned about anybody being below the limit if you're actually giving me troops, and I'm not, so that works out well. That's great. I wish the autosave was a little bit more, I don't know, better at stopping at where it's supposed to. It always comes back at January 2nd, unless you're on the slowest speed possible, which I guess is fine. But as I say, I had an interruption, so one of these years I'm actually going to have to cut. I decided that was a good time to do it, which it turned out it wasn't really a good time because I had some stuff going on that was rather important, but I hadn't realized that at the time. Anyway, you know, there's things you can't tell. I'd only gone a few days ahead and got interrupted, so... That isn't why... Here I'm thinking of marrying people off because they come of age. That isn't why my audio was actually unusable. It was really stupid. I was recording something else using my stereo mix, and it wasn't recording my microphone. And I go to fix it, and I choose the wrong microphone that's not plugged in. So yeah, I'm the best at this. And there, the concubine I just got dies. So I've got to get a new one. And I decided, you know, I'm not going to bother wasting any money. I've got to think about mercenaries later. I'm not just saying that because I use mercenaries later. I'm saying that because that was actually what I was thinking about at the time. So we pick somebody who's got pretty good traits. I'm looking just to make sure I didn't miss anybody with congenital traits. Let me just pick this Gray Eminence. because I think that's the best we can get. Plus, it's good for teaching people diplomacy, which is very important. The Shah is not doing anything, so we let him off the hook. Here, I'm looking over here to see if Moldau is doing anything. Thankfully, they're not. He gets zealous, which is quite good. We need to go hunting right now. It's important. Apparently. And I'm wondering what Perm's got to do. And the Vassal inheritance warning keeps popping up because there's an Amira who keeps having her what's the word I'm looking for here? Her relatives die, so she keeps losing her heirs. Here I noticed the Alpura kids have got a war going on with the war kids, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, hang on, I gotta go help these guys. But I noticed that he's winning, and I think about, well, you know, I could help them out by sending a guy to, you know, break up the war kids a little bit. So I think about it, and sowing dissent here, and I go ahead and do it. But later on, we'll go back to that. I'm looking around, seeing what's going on over here. The blobbing here is not necessarily unexpected. We'll have to fix that later, but, you know, whatever. I'm as much of a stickler for good borders as everyone else. I'm not necessarily worried about pretty borders, but I definitely don't want people having a bunch of non-contiguous stuff. Unless it's like an island and they have stuff on the mainland, that's fine. But like something like, ooh, and then a jihad gets called for Africa. Like Poland, for example, is just a clusterfuck right now. And I get a lot of these, as I mentioned before. And here we notice that the Sultan is actually attacking. I still think about, and here we have to put a man with 15 marshal in charge of our marshal. How far we have fallen. And I said, you know, wait a minute, I could join the jihad for Africa. But I said, screw it, it's not important. I don't think the Shia can beat them. So, yeah, it works out that way. And we get somebody becoming a Midas touch, so she's got a wicked scar. Wonder how all of my courtiers get scarred. I don't know, maybe there's a vibrant dueling culture. So we marry her off to our Darik Pot, because he could become a relatively strong heir later. Not realizing that at this point that we don't actually have any children. Our current character doesn't have any children. That will be fixed later, as it usually is with, you know, 3 concubines. So we get some money for having ambitious. Certainly not going to hurt anything. And I noticed Georgia there is stabilized, but then we have the guy we just married to one of our family members stealing our money. So here we're thinking of how we're going to try to get patient on him. I'd rather him not have wrath, so we take the one that gets rid of it most of the time, and he actually does get patient, so he's quite good. And we get another one of these. With absolute crown authority, I think it's because they can't fight amongst each other for claims and stuff. And here we get an interesting thing. Well, this is our first leader who actually has good intrigue. And the option of I like my other vassal better actually pisses somebody off. So I choose not to pick that one. So I picked the diplomacy one. Yeah, 12 intrigues. Pretty good for one of our leaders. That's basically been my dump stat that I've been not focusing on at all. I don't think it's as good as in this as it is in Crusader Kings 2, or Crusader Kings 1. So, in that it focused your you were required to have a decent amount of it to do some to have provinces. So, you know, no, it's not as important. And I haven't had anybody assassinated in quite a long time. Not since they put the plots in to assassinate people, which is actually makes people less bold about doing it. I find. And it makes it less likely for it to happen, because when your vassals like you, like mine do now, they're not going to be very receptive to joining. Here I get a thought here. Cultural advances. And I noticed that legalism, I still get a domain size from that. But I'm thinking, I only have 368. That would give me enough to do a couple of things, at least in the near future. I'm kind of worried about money, but I do it anyway, even though it's 600 gold, which is ridiculous, but that's fine. Tech points are always good. And I actually can research religious customs, which is what I was looking at. Because we do actually have 2 church leaders with the Zoroastrian Church, and here Maziar comes of age. He's a tough soldier, which is the same education trait that we have. He's pretty good, definitely acceptable. We, at this point, don't need amazing stewardship in our leaders, so the 9 is perfectly fine. I did make the mistake of not sending him to somebody else to get a good finishing on his education. I actually make that error with his brother as well. And here we can do the betrothal here. And I decide I want the prestige over the money, even though I'm kind of wanting money at the moment, because, you know, prestige is forever, basically. Money is a lot more transient than that. And then a crusade gets called for Greece. So, what I decide to do, well, I'm thinking about it, is, you know, I can use this as an opportunity, a big opportunity, because it's 1363. You might notice. Well, the Mongols can show up anytime after 1360, so they could be showing up any day now. I'm thinking, well, Greece has enough troops to defend itself. And as long as Britannia and France don't show up, we could have an easy time of it. And Britannia is distracted. Yeah. So, you know, we've got lots of opportunity here. France looks like it's distracted too, but, you know, it's hard to tell. I don't think Burgundy has shown up for one of these crusades anyway. They're not very pious. It's like, I'm going to leave all these guys over here. And what I can do is use this opportunity to pull up the rest of my troops. And just leave the stuff that's in the west to defend Greece by itself. So, I go ahead and do that. And I'm horrified by the amount of troops I'm getting from Turkestan. That is a tiny amount. But then I realize it's a child. So, it's based on her martial stat. So Kiva's got a much more acceptable amount of troops. That's nice. 30,000 almost. That's 30,000 with the troops from Turkestan. Or realizing that he's got a bunch of stuff in Mesopotamia as well. I'm looking to see if there was any place that had better supply limit, but it doesn't end up mattering because he's only got 4,000 troops. And at this point, I'm kind of like horrified by the amount of troops I have. And it ends up being later a weird thing where some of my vassals have stuff in weird places, and I don't realize that I've actually already raised their levies, and I go to try to raise the levies. So we're doing that. Trying to get everybody. I could have gone into the menu and just raised everybody all at once, but sometimes it puts them in stupid places that get them all killed. It does that with Arabia a lot. So there I start raising my troops from my personal domain, which is a significantly larger amount. I think it's about 30,000 or something. Well, here I'm selecting some stuff from one of my other vassals, but it's still a significant amount. pull some troops up from Azerbaijan. Send them over. Gilon. Whatever that is. Already raised them. And I tried to spread them out enough to actually do things. And at this point, I realize, wait a minute, why isn't Greece giving me any troops? And that is because I've already raised their troops, and I hadn't realized it. So I've raised my own levies over here. Eventually, I will give that back to Greece. Let me raise the levies of everybody else in the area that we can get. Kingdoms and such. I raised those in a place with smallpox, which isn't a good idea. But hey, whatever. I do forget some of the baronies, or not baronies, but counties that are independent. I'll pull up Armenia's troops. I just said put them there. So here I go down to Egypt. I'm realizing I've already pulled up Egypt's troops. I'm like, crap. Because Egypt's got a big army. And I'm like, oh, do they hate me or something? But I'm just, derping in circles over here. Pulling my troops over here. And coming up on the point where I actually get interrupted here. And so I'm going to be stopping at the autosave at the end of the year. See, there's Syria's troops, and I'm debating whether I want to send them over there or send them to the east. And I eventually decide I can build some boats here and send them to the west, and that would be great. So I do that. And the Immortals, I decided it's a good idea to put them in charge over there too. And one of the cool things you could do with the Immortals, if you give them land, is that you can get their vassal troops too. Don't realize I've already raised Arabia's troops. I did that up in not Mesopotamia, but Anatolia. So I'm looking around. I don't see anything else except for Mesopotamia, who's got a depressingly small amount of troops. But that's definitely going to help over here. And the reason they have a small amount of troops is because Kiva's got them. So we really start the game. And of course, the Seljuks want to join. They're such nice guys. I really wish I could give them land. That would be cool as heck. Moldau. Fuck you, Moldau. Alright. And coming up on the interruption here. But, stuff happens. Spreading our troops out a little bit here. Actually, I think it's not until the next year after that. We'll see. And here we name a guy Vondad because he's our son. Yeah, because the Catholics start to show up when I get interrupted, so never mind. Improving our learning. Could have a daughter, but improving our learning is definitely going to improve our tech rate. Plus, it gives us prestige. No problem with that. And we're only 1 point away. I don't have any problem with that. And I'm just looking at that. But it's always the same when we're at a holy war or a crusade. Apparently I have a trade post in Rome, which the Pope does own now, and I don't realize that I could just go over and sack Rome to get some more. And I realized I sent them to the wrong province and don't have enough boats, but hey, whatever. It's faster to move the boats than the troops. You can notice it glowing up in the corner behind my portrait that there's I'm directly at war with the province of Rome, which means the Pope owns it. I don't know how they got it back, but there might be an event or something that gives it back to them. So, it's going to keep going. I decided to move those guys to Nicomedia for some reason. We have a big supply limit in those 3 provinces. I don't know why I was like, oh no, we can't have more than like 15,000 in a province. That's stupid. So I go over here and start reorganization. And I realized that some of these provinces don't have as high a supply limit as I thought. And I really should have put them further east and stacked more into provinces, but I didn't. And we'll see how that turns out later. Looking at that, it's like, meh. Some pissants joining the Crusades, some dukes and stuff like that. I'm really wishing that Greece had troops, but, you know, I think it turns out better the way it did. So, you know, at this moment, I'm just kind of thinking about, you know, there's nobody's joining this crusade, so I'm gonna focus on this over here. We'll just, you know, paying attention to that over there when I get some chances. And here I'm thinking, well, moving some troops to Samarkand's a good idea. I'm passing through Merv, and it's gonna kill some guys maybe eventually, but you know, it's fine. And I actually do want guys in Diastan, so I'm doing that. And just getting them into good places. Now, unfortunately, your vassals don't help you as much as you would expect them to in a lot of these wars. I had almost wished there was a system to organize all your troops beforehand, like a planned invasion kind of thing for everybody, where if you get that warning from the Mongols, you can do it. I realize that kind of defeats the purpose of them. The thing's very dismissive. The event's very dismissive. It sounds very dismissive. Here I'm checking how many troops I have. 218,000 troops. That means I'm only going to have about a 50% advantage over troops. I realize I only have about 2,000 troops that I haven't raised. And one of them is down here. I was like, how did that happen? Whatever. So I send it to Berjand, and there's another one there, which I end up sending over there. And I don't notice the one in the middle for a while. And then you can see right there that the Pope's got some troops that are going to start showing up pretty soon. As far as what's going to end up happening, we're at the point where we really need to start worrying about attrition. As you can see, some of our troops are dying from being in provinces that are bad, but there's really nothing we can do about it right now. To actually get the troops in place, we have to walk through people, and it was dumb because I could have just walked the original guys forward and put the other guys behind them. Here I decide that, you know, I don't need guys in Ostert, however you pronounce that. And I realize, you know, really that the ones that further east are going to be the ones that are taking the brunt of the damage. So I kind of consider raising mercenaries ahead of time. And then there's another jihad for Africa. This time's the Sunni Caliph, which is way more dangerous. I don't do anything about it, though. And here I can see up in the corner that there's some troops showing up over there. And lo and behold, troops start showing up. But nothing really major. Got some stuff over here. Got some stuff from I don't know where. You know, nothing too concerning. Looking at my boat numbers. Boats are kind of a bottleneck here until you get them all up. Get a new guy in charge of Ascalon. I completely forget about the guy in Nicomedia for a while. I just moved him down to Athens to try to get, you know, get some organization going down there, because those are the Pope's personal troops. So the Pope ended up getting a lot of troops. And there I noticed the guys in Nicomedia. That would have been better to move them at the same time, but I didn't. And a lot of people were, well, not a lot of people, some people, one person, I think, was, you know, telling me to lose Greece on purpose to get some more stuff back to the Christians. And honestly, I'm not worried about that. I would rather actually have the Orthodox do it, but the Orthodox can't have crusades. We get a kid named Danush who's got attractive, which balances out his child of concubine trait. So we name him Xerxes. We haven't had a Xerxes in a while. And then we get a bonus to our military points, which is great. And those guys, those eagle dudes back there, kind of walk around me. Here, I'm checking the Alp kids. They're still there. I don't pull any allies on this for some reason. I think most of my allies kind of dislike me now because I've been turning them down. Here I noticed the 700 guys there. I'm like, oh, whatever. Just send them over there. They're not going to do anything. And I move these guys to Anatolia to kind of defend against that stack there. But I don't know if that's actually going to have an effect at that point. So here's some more guys start showing up. And here we're getting to the end of this section. And I will come back after the interruption.